Hey, I just want to talk about something that somebody mentioned once before about personality tests, and it's something I sort of went over recently again because it was something that I was interested to sort of see. I was also looking at zodiacs for some strange reason, and I looked at what I was previously. And this is just the 16 ones that you have the NE, NS, FT, and JP. So you're introvert, you're extrovert, intuitive, observant, even feeling, thinking, and then judging, perspecting, and those sort of things. And basically, I came out as an INFJ. And this was way back when. This was about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, actually, when I look at it. And I did it recently again, and I actually found that I was an INTJ A. They've added this assertiveness in there and stuff like that. And then there's the opposite to that, which is T, which is turbulent. So the one thing that changed was I went from a feeling sort of person to a thinking person. And I'm not sure if that was something that's happened. But, all of mine that I've sort of seen in the past I've been relatively borderline with every one of them. So I can be very close to being nearly the opposite, except for probably judging. It's the only one that I seem to be getting high on all the time. So obviously, it's not about being judgmental and stuff like that, but it's just that you are a judging type of person and you have that sort of thing. So it's interesting because somebody else mentioned this a while ago, sort of saying that they were a certain personality, and then they sort of felt like they always feel a lot more stuff. And so I think it's something that is certainly something within my sphere, and it's certainly how I sort of think a lot. I was quite surprised that I went from a feeling to a thinking, but I think I was always fairly borderline there anyway. Last time I did this, I got a 9.8, so I was just borderline thinking, feeling, and this time I'm a little bit higher. But I think what I sort of wanted to talk about, and it was also built up with the zodiacs as well, because I looked at the zodiac sign for myself, and a lot of the stuff that's in there is very you. And I'm not the type of person that sort of believes in those sort of things and stuff like that. But what I do find fascinating, and also with these personality types as well, is how much there is of you in those sort of signs. You can read it and you can sort of say, oh yeah, I'm a little bit like that, and oh yeah, I'm a little bit like that, or I'm a lot like that, and those sort of things. And my zodiac sign sort of said, one of the things there was patience, and that's one of the things, and steady. And my wife always talks about those two things about me regarding what I am like and the type of person I am. I'm a fairly steady sort of person. She tries to say it nicely. She doesn't say it. She doesn't mean that I'm boring, but that's the undertones that I'm getting. But she sort of says I'm a fairly steady person, and I would say that as well. I'm fairly level most of the time, and I'm also relatively patient. I think nobody can sort of say they're absolutely patient, because there's always going to be something that gets under our skin, gets on our goat, and it just sort of works. But what I find about these things is then once you've done them, or you've looked up your sign and you look at it, you can get a sort of a sense of what you are. And I think what it does for me, it sort of allows you to think that you're not the only person out there like this. You are part of a collective. You are part of a group. There are only 12 signs. There's only 16 personality types. And it means that, even though you might sort of feel, oh, look, I'm the only person that's this introverted, there is probably somebody else out there that's like that. And that's what I like about looking at these personality tests. You can look at it, you can sort of see who you are, and you can sort of see, oh, okay, so these are the sort of traits or trends or things that these people, these group of people is known for. It doesn't mean that you suddenly have to be these type of people, because I think there's always exceptions. Some of the other things that I read around those, I'd be like, no, I don't think I fit that. But it does give you that sense of being part of something more than just you thinking you're the only person like this out in the world. So for some of these, I mean, it was like the one that I was compared to. There's a fly here that's bugging me. Is that I'm an architect, so that means you are very creative in one sense. You're bringing lots of different imaginations, but then because you're an architect and the building has to stand, there are rules that you have to follow, and so you're still very down the line and stuff like that. So that was quite interesting because I sort of feel like, yeah, sometimes I am exactly like that. I do like all this creativity and stuff that are coming towards me, and I like making things, and I like doing, I like writing, and I like, the blacksmithing, and now is the time. And obviously I like talking and things like that. But I then also have this idea of just being very much straight down the line and thinking about whether you can or you can't do these things, or whether it's in the rules to be able to do these sort of things. So that sort of, and sometimes those sort of things, sort of the things that mess you up when you're a little bit like, just thinking in those disconnected ways, as you would sort of think. And I think everybody has those sort of disconnected ways. You can be creative with rules, or you can be very free flowing. That's why I'm not one of those people, because I can't say it. Free flowing, but you need very strong structure around it. So that you can be free flowing. And there are lots of those sort of things that are a little bit like left field and stuff like that. So they can actually get to those sort of points where you sort of feel like, okay, this is a little bit, it doesn't make sense. And so when you read something like these, like your strengths and your weaknesses of your zodiac, or the strengths and weaknesses of your personality type, you get a bit of a sense that there are sometimes disconnects or things that don't quite feel like they fit, and that's okay. And so I think sometimes, although these things can sometimes feel, they're for some people they're pie in the sky, they're a bit what's his name, but I think sometimes they also give you a sense of there's something more out there, and I'm part of that, and there are other people out there like me. So I'm not going out there and sort of saying, look up your zodiac and that's you and off you go, and do your personality test, and that's the type of person you are. But I think sometimes these things can give you a little bit of a reference point, and you can sort of say, okay, actually, they've actually put that in as a strength. Because sometimes I think, if I look at myself and my patience, sometimes that makes me feel like I'm inactive. Because I'm always feel like I'm waiting. But it's actually, they put it down as a strength. And I'm like, oh, how's that a strength? And you think about it and it's like, okay, maybe you don't rush to judge. I might be a judging person, but I'm not rushing to judge people, and I'm not rushing to do that. So there can be sort of these positive spins on these things. And it also can be something that you're actually then see about yourself in a slightly different way, because they offer some sort of explanation. They offer a little bit more insight into what that means, and sometimes you can see something there that you're like, you never thought of. And so those things can actually be then quite powerful for yourself to sort of think, okay, I might be that type of person, I may be introverted, but with these other traits, that actually is a very powerful combination. And what I need to do is embrace that a little bit more, embrace the person I am, and be a little bit more open to who you are as a person and what makes you the person you are, and really sort of celebrate that and say, actually, I'm something to be celebrated. And there's lots of people like that out there with me. And, and in these sort of things, they sometimes put, who are prominent people that are these type of people, and you can see and say, oh, shit, that person is like this, are they? Oh, poor them. No. Wow, that's amazing. I can now sort of see how that person, and they still manage to do those sort of things. So you can sometimes see that you can rise above those sort of things. And sometimes this is one way of doing that. I'm not sort of saying this is the only way or the best way, but this is another tool that you can sort of look at to sort of say, okay, who am I as a person, and what am I sort of thinking and doing and stuff like that. So from that sort of point of view, it can actually be quite powerful and give you a better sense of worth for yourself as well. So have a look at those. Sometimes have a look at those things. Do them if you sort of think you'd like to. It gives you a bit of an insight into yourself as well. And one thing that I will sort of say is be honest, because then you'll get an honest answer, and you might be a little bit surprised about what you get. So good luck, have fun, and hopefully that is of interest.